We have reviewed over 200 investments this year. There is one pattern that I see over and over again that breaks my heart. It isn't bad ideas, it isn't weak teams.
It was founders with real companies, real traction, real problems, pitching investors who are never going to say yes.
And it's not that they were slightly wrong, they were completely off.
The dangerous part?
They think they got rejected.
They didn't get rejected, they got mismatched.
Today, we're going to be fixing your list. 4 steps, and by the end of this episode, you know exactly what you need to do and why the right investors don't need too much convincing.
But before the framework, Maria, tell them what happened to the founder that we just spoke about, because this is exactly what inequality actually looks like.
Yeah, so this founder, strong operator, real traction. She sent a cold outreach to several investors, 6 weeks, nobody responded. Then a portfolio founder sent a 3-line WhatsApp to their investor, you need to meet this person now. Meeting in 24 hours, term sheet in weeks. It was the same company, it was the same numbers, it was just different access.
That is the game that no one talks about, and that is exactly what we want to unpack today. Most investors are not your investors, not maybe later, not if things are going well, just no.
And it's a structural fact. It's actually stage, it's geography, it's check size, it's portfolio conflicts, it's LP mandates, all of that before they even read your deck.
So the first thing is we want to dive into 4 key questions. 1, do they invest in pre-product? Do they need traction? 2, do they lead rounds? Do they follow? 3, have they backed founders at your stage before? Have they done so recently? And then the 4th one being, do they have a portfolio conflict in your space?
But here's the most important instruction. What a VC puts on their website is the bare minimum. You still need to do some research. Look at who they've invested in the last 12 months. Figure out, do they have evidence of any checks into your space? And be very careful. If they've invested in a type of company in a particular industry, the likelihood of them investing in that same type is very low because there's a portfolio conflict.
And that's the filter. Not perfect, but it does remove the noise. And so ditch the list. Today we're going to get into it.
They go on Google, top VCs in Europe, Twitter threads, best pre-seed investors, the list someone shared 3 years ago on LinkedIn.
I'm laughing because it's so funny. I literally get a lot of LinkedIn messages that say, oh, I saw you on this angel list. I saw you on this European Women in VC list. And I'm like, great, but it doesn't mean I invest in your sector or at your stage.
And that's just a waste of your time that you don't really have. So signal is one question. Who has invested in your space recently? Who has a mandate and a thesis in your area?
It takes time, and you really need to figure out, understand what investors actually investing, what they're looking for. And the biggest thing I can tell you is the power of personalization.
You need to say something so relevant to them that they would actually pay attention.
A couple of years ago, I actually invested in this company. Founder reached out to me on LinkedIn and she said, I just saw you speak on stage at this event. I heard you make a point about this, about my sector. I have thoughts on this space. This is what I think. Would love to have a chat and just have an exchange based on what you said. I was like, that's not a pitch. I love the fact that she made it very personal, made it very relatable to something that I had just done recently. And so get creative, guys.
And yes, sometimes you might not have that in your network, and that's completely fine. So you can actually go online, find sources, Crunchbase, Deal Room, filter by round size, by stage date, by sector, figure out LinkedIn, which investor has posted about something specific recently, not just what's on their bio, actually. They're giving you hints and evidence of the things that they're likely to invest and the things that they're not likely to invest in. Get a portfolio founder of someone they've invested in to tell you whether or not that investor gets in early. Those are the real signals, not just the lists you find online. Most of them are partially wrong.
Beyond the list itself, nothing beats a warm introduction. And so if you can get an intro through another founder, yes, that does require a bit of hustle because you may not know any mutual founders. But if you can find a way, founders love helping other founders is what I've really found. If you know that Maria or I have backed a company, for example, and you want to get in touch with us, reaching out to founders that we've previously backed and saying, hey, would love to get an intro into your investor, X, Y, and Z, make it worth their while as well. And so try not to be so transactional. Fundraising is a relationship game.
I know that there's a balance there because you want to get to the point and stuff like that, but it is a relationship game. I've had inbounds where people are like, this is what we're building. Are you interested or not in investing? And I'm like, I'm probably not going to say
Yeah.
I'm going to invest off one LinkedIn message or not. So your goal really is to get the first meeting, not to get an investment from the first outreach, to building that relationship and figuring out if what you've qualified actually is in practice and you have some kind of synergies.
Now, a lot of people say that the world of startups is very much a numbers game. And yes, that is true to an extent. But here's what most founders don't really realize: you don't need 100 investors to reach out to. That list of 100 investors, top in Europe, ditch that list.
You might think that's the first thing to do, but you actually need high quality targets. You have to run your fundraise as though you're running a sales process, because it is a sales process for the equity of your company. You need 20 to 30 high quality targets to start, and you really want to cut aggressively. If someone has made a public statement or has made it clear that they don't invest in your sector, you're not going to be the exception. It is unlikely that you would be, and you don't have time. So you really should cut it out and be very, very aggressive. There's another thing someone once told me, an investor I really respect, and he said, find your believers. You need to find an ICP. An ICP is an ideal customer profile. You need to find your ideal investor profile, IIP. And you need to figure out who is the person who tends to already have a bias for what I'm building, and then build that list as your top of funnel. That is how you get high conversion rates into a check.
Yeah, and I've seen some founders approach this very different with a target of, say, 10, 15 investors, very targeted in terms of exactly who they want in their cap table, and targeting the outreach entirely to ensure that they manage to reach them. And they've already done the screening, they've already assessed whether these investors would invest in their company potentially. And that can be very powerful because then you know exactly what you're going after.
Yeah, and the principle holds either way. Short and targeted beats long and hopeful. And I know that there's a lot of advice out there around like you need to go through the numbers. The nuance there is that those are qualified leads. Those are qualified numbers, not just random numbers of people who may or may not fit your thesis.
Access is 100% not equal when it comes to fundraising.
Yeah, it's very true.
You can have two identical companies. One gets a warm intro, one sends a cold email, completely different outcomes. We've touched on this already. Not because the company is better, but because who was in the room.
Yeah, a warm intro just creates urgency. It removes that barrier for trust. So wherever you can, and I know that this is difficult for everyone, but wherever you can, optimize for a warm intro because it just leads to higher conversion. For cold intros, on the other hand, they have to fight for the attention.
So if you can get that warm intro, yes, it does require a bit more hustle, but in the long run, it actually really pays off. And be specific, as I mentioned earlier. Don't just send a generic email. If you want a mutual contact to introduce you, don't just say, can you introduce me to X, Y, and Z? Create a narrative around why they must speak to you, why they must not turn down the introduction.
A great intro has three things. It has why now, it has why you, and it has how big the opportunity is. If you have those three, it probably would land you into a conversation.
So the question isn't how do we write a better cold email? The question is how do I get the warm intro?
Yes, and the trick is to map backwards. For every investor on your list, who knows them? Who are their portfolio founders, their operators? Go on LinkedIn. Who's engaging with their posts? Who are they reporting to? Who are their co-investors? Who are their mutual connections? You are one search away and one honest and good intro away from most of these paths.
And when you do get that warm intro or that connection, be specific. This feels like the exact type of company that XYZ would want to speak to, for example. Or here's one reason why I think that they would want to see my company. So make them feel as if they absolutely need to see your company.
Be very clever, not too salesy, in a way that they're like, pique the curiosity. Remember, the goal is not for you for them to invest in the first meeting. The goal is for you to have a conversation and to give them context for you to figure out if it's going to work. The other thing I would say is that you're not asking people to do you a favor when you are looking to seek an investment. You're actually giving them something worth forwarding. Think of it that way. The portfolio founders also want to share really interesting opportunities with their investors. They want to be able to show that they add value. So you need to flip your mind. You're not begging for money. You're not asking for investment. You are giving an opportunity for them to join your journey and for you to build something incredible together. So if your round isn't working, there's a very chance that it's not really your company. I mean, in some cases, it might be your company. but there's a chance that it's not your company.
It's your list.
And I want to be clear, it's not just a consolation for you. It's actually the best possible news.
Because the thing that's broken is fixable, and it's fixable today.
Correct. And the right investors don't really need too much convincing. They already believe in the category. They already understand the stage. They've already made peace with the risk.
And when you meet them, the conversation just feels different. It feels right, but you've got to do the work to get that.
Absolutely. That's the goal. Find your believers. It's not overly stressful persuasion. It's precision. It's speaking to the people who are already biased to hear you in the first place.
So fix the list, fix the approach, and everything else gets easier.
So one thing before you go, if you are mid-raise right now, drop your list size in the comments. Like, how many people are on it? How many are you cutting off after today? What did you think about the insights that we shared today? Which one do you think will work? Which one do you think is tough?
And you may be surprised, but we read every single email, every single message. So that's not just something that we say, it's actually true.
And if this helped with the founder, just share it with them.
New episodes every other week. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Next up, the warm intro script and what makes the difference between an email that gets a reply and one where you get radio silence.
And 2 founders each month get a one-on-one call with Yvonne and I. So send us a line on what you're building. We'll put the links in the comments for you to send those entries in. Thank you for spending time with us today on the Startup Leap. Keep building.
Tell us what you think of this episode on all of our platforms at the Startup Leap Pod. Do you have a question? Ask us and we'll ask our guests. Go to thestartupleap.io. See you next time.